Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be reviewing the film Wicked for Good, and we are joined by two very special guests. They are new to the pod, but we actually got to collaborate with them several weeks ago. Laura and Steven from Midday Movies are here, so do you both want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, hello. I'm Laura Fones from Midday Movies. I'm a huge film nerd going way back, and I care entirely too much about the behind-the-scenes crew.
That is true. That is true. And hi, I am Stephen Frothingham. I am Laura Fones' co-host and editor, which is a fun dichotomy. It's fun to do both. I have to say, I'm also a big film nerd, have a theater background, and I'm deeply invested in the world of Wicked. I read the book. I read a couple of the OG books. I watched the musical. I watched the movie musical now a couple times, and so I'm really excited to get into this.
I'm sure you've got thoughts.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, we're excited to dive in. Sarah, do you want to kick us off with IMDb summary for Wicked for Good?
Sure. Elphaba, the future Wicked Witch of the West, and her relationship with Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, the second of a two-part feature film adaptation of the Broadway musical.
I love that they call that out in the IMDb summary. Like, yes, we did cut this in half so we could make more money.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start off with our one-sentence summaries for Wicked for Good. Laura, do you want to kick us off?
I certainly do. All right. So my one-sentence summary of Wicked for Good is, how about a coup with extra steps?
Amazing.
I love that it's an invitation. It's like, how about a coup with extra steps? Wicked for Good.
Oh, very good. Well done. Stephen, what is your one-sentence summary?
Mine is a little bit more sincere, but so my one sentence summary is as follows. Hunted by the state she tried to save, Elphaba must decide whether to keep fighting or disappear into legend.
Oh,
Ooh,
yes.
That's a solid log line.
Yeah.
That was really good.
That's dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Very well
is
done.
dramatic. This whole movie is incredibly dramatic. First one was very comedic, and this one was less comedic and more dramatic, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah, one-sentence summary.
Mine is, it ain't easy being green.
Truer words never spoken.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog is
You
out there like,
know?
yes,
Wow.
he gets it. Elphaba and
Well
Kermit
played.
get it.
Yep, they do.
Mhm.
My one-sentence summary is studio money grabs are wicked for bad.
Oh,
Nice.
I am already looking forward to your responses
yes,
to this
yes.
narrative.
Sorry in advance to everyone who loves this. Okay. I think actually, before we share our thoughts about Wicked for Good, I think it'd be interesting to hear kind of where we all landed after seeing the first film. It kind of is a mixed bag for a lot of people. I think overall sentiment seems positive for the first film, and how that maybe shaped how you felt going into the second one, the second half of the story. So yeah, thoughts about Wicked, the first part of this film adaptation. Let's start with you, Stephen.
So Wicked Part 1, the movie musical. First of all, I had no idea that Wicked was going to be a two-parter. So I was just sucked into the entire first Wicked movie, assuming that it was just going to be an incredibly long movie. But then they popped out the part 2 coming in 2027 or 2026 or whatever, and it just blew my mind. I was like, what? Okay, what? But we're not done yet. We're not done yet. You turned this book into a musical, a 2.5-hour musical, and you covered the whole thing. You're going to do this in a two-parter? Okay, I was very excited. I was incredibly excited for it, though, because again, I love the source material. I love the OG Wizard of Oz, Wicked the book, Wicked the musical, and really, really just had a tremendous time in Wicked Part 1. The comedy was on point. The drama was on point. The songs were on point. it had Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, for Christ's sake, like everything. It had
Yeah.
everything. And so I was so just over the moon, over the top excited for Wicked for Good.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we're waiting with bated breath to hear how you felt about this second half of the story. But Laura, how did you feel about the
Yes,
first
yes.
movie?
Well, I have seen Wicked in theater settings multiple
Mm,
times. So my knowledge of the movie musical was informed by the understanding that the first act of Wicked is show stopping. Everybody
mm,
agrees the first act of Wicked is so good at its job. There are more mixed responses to the second act, and it is musical theater lore that Wicked went through about 2 years of previews, reworking the book and songs.
mm,
So many of them were like infinitely strengthened, but you know from that story that the first draft had things that needed work.
mm.
But I mean, the movie musical, the part one of Wicked was great. I thought it had a wonderful, like, light academia flair. It gave to me something that I received from the Harry Potter movies when I was a child.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I like this environment. I like what we're doing here. It's sparkling and very engaging, and I like that a goat is teaching me history. I'm really into that." Madame Morrible was amazing because
Mm,
she's so mean and so good at her job, and I love when she
mhm,
foots around. And it was enchanting to watch Elphaba and um, oh my god, Elphaba and Galinda come together through the, popular song into the Stardust
mm.
Ballroom. It's a strong narrative arc, like, that relationship is killing it. So, much like Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, 88%, I'm in.
All right, Sarah. Thoughts about Wicked Part One and how that shaped going into Wicked for Good.
Yeah, I love Wicked the musical. I have listened to the original cast recording more times than I can count. It is ingrained into my DNA. Like,
Mm,
read the books when I was younger. Like, I was obsessed. Seen the musical, actually the musical before. So I loved Wicked. The movie I enjoyed, but because I love just the original so much, it was hard for me to like fully engage with it. But what I loved about the first film is that it uses the medium of film so effectively and does things that you can't do in a theater. And so
mm,
I think it is a good movie. It is a solid adaptation. I still prefer the original cast recording just because I've listened to it 1 billion times. But I was pleasantly surprised by the first film. I was hesitant about the second film for all of the things that you said, Laura, of it being the weaker of the two halves, and just unsure how they were going to be able to like
mm.
land this plane. Also, my favorite song in the entire musical is in the second half, so I was like, don't screw up my favorite song. Hesitant going into the second one.
All right. I think, yeah, it sounds like we were all kind of like net positive for the first part adaptation of Wicked. I hadn't seen Wicked yet before watching the first movie. Just hadn't gone around to, I know it's like iconic and it's everywhere, but just hadn't got an opportunity yet. So was super thrilled to finally experience this iconic story. Loved it. I usually don't really like movie musical adaptations, to be honest. And I thought they did a really great job feeling the immersiveness of this world. I think part of what makes Wicked seemingly so thrilling and exciting is what you're talking about, Laura, around like the sparkling aspects of this world and this place that you get to just wander through. And so I then in the fall got to see Wicked the musical on Broadway with a friend in New York. So that was a fascinating experience to sandwich these things together in this way. And I was actually really excited for Wicked for Good because the second half of the Broadway musical is very quick. Like we're moving from emotional beat to emotional beat very quickly. And I'm like, gosh, we've got 2 hours and a half to explore some of these things. So I was excited to like kind of get the expanded version of the second half in a movie format. So that leads us to our next question, which is how did we feel about Wicked for Good ultimately, now having seen it? Laura, let's start with you.
Point of interest, my favorite song is also in the second act, and I wonder if it's the same as yours, Sarah, but we'll share that later. I was going in, I was ready. I was in it to win it. And then I'm going to say it's a net positive. The acting is good. The world remains fantastic. I have some questions, but my primary question is just technical. And that is, did you notice that everything was at like a mid close-up? I was very struck by that and a little bit confused in terms of blocking, because when you do a mid close-up, that's like a conversation angle, right? We're having a two-person conversation, but these are big fight scenes. These are intense, seemingly widescreen moments. I didn't see much of what was going on, the same way that I did in the first Wicked, in Wicked Part 1, how we just had these gigantic sets, and they're all practical sets. Like, the interiors are 55 feet high, the exteriors are 65 feet high. These are all visually there. You can see them. There is not any CGI that needs to be done to this. So you can do wide shots. And I was struck by that the entire time I was watching this. I was like, why are we in a mid close up? I just want to know the reasons. I I think I'm supposed to feel more sympathy. I think we're doing a heavily relationship oriented film here. And that's fine. But why didn't we do anything but walk 3 feet during For Good? I don't understand. I was confused. I have a lot of confusion. It's not criticism, it's just confusion. How about you, gorgeous people?
We're going to dive into that. So, Steven, what are your thoughts about Wicked for Good? Laura's confusion. Where did you land?
Well, let's see. Wicked for Good. The first time I saw it in theaters, I had less questions about it. The vibes really got me through. The huge big screen experience really got me through. The music was in my ears. The actors were acting their heart out. Ariana Grande was just killing it. I think she definitely deserved some kind of commendation, some kind of award nom or something for her acting in this. She was incredible, as well as Cynthia Erivo. And I think I wasn't disappointed in it. It did give me everything I wanted, but I felt like there was an opportunity for me. There was an opportunity for them to fill the relationship stuff with more political stuff. If you're going to expand it out, why not integrate the political intrigue about what happened with Ozma, the Ozma regent from the book? Why not tease that out? The musical, you don't have as much material to pull from the musical because it's a ton of amazing numbers and it's pulled from the book and it's a condensed version of the book. But why not take that political stuff, pull it in? Why don't we talk more about what the wizard actually did and Elphaba's political agenda and why people should actually be supporting her? Because that is what I would have loved to see more of. Case in point, though, I had a fantastic time with Wicked for Good because I'm obsessed with all the songs in this musical. Sarah, like you, I've listened to the original soundtrack and sung the original soundtrack to the musical too many times. I think I know all of them by heart, to be honest. Even Dancing Through Life, like I can do all of the parts. Point is, I'm obsessed with this musical. I'm obsessed with this movie. I do think Wicked for Good could have had more political elements and it could have dug more into, it could have zoomed out a bit and focused a bit more on the political why that is driving these characters' actions.
All right. So, satisfied with some desires.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Content to have a little more. Sarah, what about you? Where did you land ultimately in how Wicked for Good landed for you?
Yeah, to me, this is just a baffling film. If you would have, if I didn't know anything about Wicked and how these two movies came to be, I would have guessed that Wicked for Good was filmed like years after the first one. And, maybe I would have guessed there would have been some like creative changes behind the scenes or something. Like, it's so different to me from the first film. And I feel like I said earlier, the first film is so effective in using movies and using film as this medium to explore things that you can't on a stage. And I feel like Wicked for Good doesn't do that as much. And so I wanted more of that, like movie magic. And I don't feel like there's as much of that in this film. I also love what you said, Stephen, about including more from the book, because the book is so dense and there's so much in there that is really good and really interesting. It's quite a dark and violent book, but it's really good. And so I think if you're going to break this musical up into two movies, let's use that time strategically. And I don't feel like that happened with this second film. So to me, I was honestly disappointed in this, and it made me appreciate the first film even more. Like, I was kind of mid on the first film when I saw it, but now having watched Wicked for Good, I'm like, wow, that movie's really good. Like, I was a little too harsh about that first one.
So she's revising her takes on the first one after seeing how rough this one was for you.
No, Sarah, I get that. That makes sense to me. I feel like you've done a lot of time exploring the lore of Wicked over the years, so that take totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Uh, I was upset during this movie because I could feel the grubby little corporate fingers all over it. And so I was seeing the bones of the story that were essential, and then I was feeling the filler that we were doing in between them. So there's a lot of really fun moments, like
Mhm.
Elphaba and Glinda doing a little fight sequence, right? Like very fun. But like emotionally, those beats I think landed at kind of the wrong places and tonally were a little bit off for me. And so one of the things that I was really excited about that I mentioned is after seeing the Broadway musical, I felt the fact that we had to keep the musical version for the performance sake to be within these time bounds. And so a lot of those really big, important emotional stakes in the second half of that musical is often like moving along quite quickly. And I felt like, gosh, we have this time and opportunity to sink into that inner turmoil that honestly, like our two protagonists are feeling so deeply, that are so human, so significant. Their like moral responsibilities with their personal desires all colliding together. Like, let's make this a really interesting, character rich film that can like allow the story to breathe a little bit more. And I felt like there were a couple of those emotional beats and moments and scenes that I was like, this is supposed to be working. And I don't know why it feels kind of disconnected. Maybe it's something in the performances. Maybe it's something in the pacing as well of when we're taking an emotional moment and then going to do something fun next. Some filler scene that's very fun and frivolous and sparkly. So I think something around the structure and order of those things too, and the pacing, I think could have been better. So, like you mentioned, Stephen, there's so much drama. There's so much relational drama. There's so much like macro level drama in this part of the story. And I would have loved for the film to have space to explore that a little bit more than we did.
Did anyone else feel that either diegetically within the film, people were having a nervous breakdown, or in reality, while working, they were all having nervous breakdowns? Because I felt a palpable fear from the
Mm,
film as I was watching
mm,
it. I was like, I feel a negative emotion coming from the creative team bleeding out of the
mm.
screen to me. And that's strange. That's
Yeah.
strange. Um, but we've got some information about it. Some of that comes from the Wicked podcast that was released by Peacock, and you can see the last 3 episodes cover Wicked for Good. And you have interviews with John M. Chu, who is the director, and his description of Elphaba is so emotionally affecting. I was like, "Are you okay, friend?" Um, he was describing he was describing the entry scene of Elphaba, where she comes in. We establish at this 1 year later mark, which I guess is what 12 tide turns means. I'd be interested to know about the tides in that world. Um, he was saying, I was motivated by Tim Burton's Batman. I wanted this to be a Marvel moment where we have her descend from the sky, be a superhero. What has she been doing? She's been saving the animals. And this is her day to day. She is a hero. And I'm like, fantastic. And then he starts going, and then I wanted to take her back to her nest. And she's Batman, and this is her bat cave, but she doesn't have Alfred. And being a leader, it's a lonely experience. I think about it as similar to being a director. You make a lot of decisions on your own, and you don't know if they're right, but you have to keep going. And I'm like, what was the temperature on the set at this point, friend?
You're like, John, are you okay?
Because I see behavior. I see within the characters' actions that are erratic, and you can easily ascribe them to character motivated reasons, which is Elphaba has had her entire cosmology destroyed. Like, she thought the wizard was a great guy, and she was fully committed to the belief system. And then she discovered he's the reason that the bad things that she's concerned about are happening. So her sense of reality is shaken. And Fiyero, his sense of reality is shaken because he's been dancing through life, but now he has feelings. Oh my God. Um, and Galinda's life is also her sense of reality is askew because she knows all the behind the scenes machinations. She also is sort of getting married to someone who's sort of not emotionally available, and her best friend is evil, but she loves her best friend, and she's managing a lot of propaganda wings under very difficult circumstances. And her boss, the press secretary, Madame Morrible, hates her, but she can't do much about that. And at least she's got a bubble. Anyway, there is an emotion that lives in this film, and I'm fascinated by it, and I really want to dig into it. But more than that, I want to talk about what is happening politically here. I won't force you guys to talk about that, but that's where I'm gonna end my comment.
Let's dive into that. So, spoiler alert for Wicked for Good. If you haven't seen it yet, we're about to dive in so we can fully unpack all of the details. So, Laura, take us there. Yeah, tell us your thoughts about that.
Okay. So my big question is, what is Elphaba's goal? What is Elphaba's goal? Because if it is what she says it is at the beginning of the film, then her behavior makes no sense. So I think what Elphaba's goal is to liberate animals. And Stephen, I'm going to need your help here. I asked as a viewer, why is this scapegoating happening? Why is there a political action against a group of people? Because that's what happens during wars, when there's an economic downturn, when something bad has happened that you need to turn faces away from. So what's happening in Oz? Because they seem economically fine. And what was happening, Stephen?
So what's happening at this time? You have the wizard, right? The Wizard of Oz. He is not the rightful heir to the Kingdom of Oz. It was Ozma Regent who was displaced by him in the books, right? This is something that they don't talk about in the movies and also in the musical. But in the book, they talk about this big piece. Basically, a rightful kingdom was replaced by the Wizard of Oz, who came from Kansas in a balloon and basically took over. There's supposedly like a peaceful transition of power in the book, but the Ozma Regent dies at some point, and you're like, whoa, hold on. Why did they die in captivity? Oh, they got sick and died. Okay, so from my perspective, what happened was Wizard comes in, he takes over Oz, and he is using the animals to distract from his dictatorship, his authoritarian rule of Oz. That's why he's all magic and fun and twists and turns and all of that, because he's obfuscating. He's an excellent obfuscator. He talks about how he's a carny. He talks about how he's like this magician back home. Like he does a lot of magical tricks, a lot of sleight of hand, and he's using that to cast a veil over the Kingdom of Oz and distract them from the fact that this guy just took over your kingdom and is running it and making it all marvelous and wonderful. But also, whatever happened to that royal family? Like, why are you? I think he's distracting from all of this.
Yeah, okay, so we've had a coup.
Yeah, we've had a coup.
And you're
exactly.
like, what about another one?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've had a coup. The wizard came in from Kansas, somewhere in the United States, flew in, decided that he was ruler of Oz now, magicked that into existence, and is like, those animals though, am I right? They should probably are in forced labor and shouldn't speak, and look at the animals and me. Principally also me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a coup that is probably in living memory, but no one detects it. We're being distracted by the animals, but not so much that we don't have animal activists. Elphaba's goal is to liberate the animals. Elphaba thinks that the wizard can do it. She goes to the wizard. She discovers the wizard is the one who is the oppressive force on the animals. She's like, okay, I guess now my entire goal is to tell everyone that the wizard lies and to liberate the animals. And I feel like she is not a very effective messenger. Her messaging is not great on this. It's not a strong activist ask. It's like, the wizard lies. Great. About what? Also animals. Great. Tell me how. But she's one person. She is not doing this well. She's trying her best. That is the political motivation. She comes back to comes to the wedding to shake the wizard out of power, I guess. Be like, no, it's over. Stop it. Decides to join forces with him in exchange for her political ask, then discovers there's an even worse dungeon of animals. So her political ask is insufficient to receive her political aims. And then she declares, I have discovered what I want to do with my life. Fight you until I die. And so I'm like, Elphaba, excellent. I know what your goal is. And then 15 minutes later, she's like, peace.
I'm out.
So
done. Bouncing out of Oz.
Yeah. Does Elphaba get what she wants? I think she does, because what she wants is love. But I'll tell you what Galinda wants, and that is power. And she gets what she wants.
Oh, she does.
That is the end. That is the end game of the that is the end game of the Ozian political Game of Thrones. Who you thought was the hero is not the hero. They're not even trying to achieve their goals. But in the end, our very sparkling pseudo-villain, pseudo-hero, I don't know where everyone lands on Galinda, she gets what she wants. She fails upwards so hard that it is breathtakingly inspiring. But that was how I was watching the film.
She fails upwards so hard. That is so good. It's true.
So you guys, I resonate with what Laura just said, because I have questions. Why did Elphaba pivot so quickly? And I have to tell you, I asked Claude AI why the heck this happened, because I'm like, I can't figure it out. I don't know. What do you think, Claude AI? And they actually had a pretty interesting response. They said, Elphaba doesn't give up fighting for what's right. She pivots strategically. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on. I found AI is very good at being very persuasive, even when it's not correct.
Even when it's wrong.
Even when it's wrong. Because basically, they're like, so the real strategy, again, this is not my perspective. This is what Claude AI brought to me. The real strategy is Elphaba realizes as long as she's alive and visible, she's a lightning rod for hate. The wizard uses her as a scapegoat to unite Oz against a common enemy. Presence actually prevents positive change. Glinda, with her public standing as Glinda the Good, can accomplish what Elphaba cannot. Before sending Glinda off, Elphaba gives Glinda the Grimoire and tells her she should learn how to read it, right? So Elphaba tells Glinda something vital. The Good Witch shouldn't rehabilitate Elphaba's image posthumously because people need a common villain to rally against. So why does she fake her death and leave? It's not about giving up, it's a tactical retreat. She removes herself as the wizard's scapegoat. She empowers Galinda. She finds personal peace. She accepts what she can't fix. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it, but it does put into context logically why she does what she does. But I don't know that that's clearly communicated in the film itself. I will say that.
Also, isn't that kind of the ending of, I think it's The Dark Knight, where Batman has to go run away and be hunted?
Wait a second. That's a really good point, Sarah. And wasn't he talking, John Shu was talking about Batman in The Dark Knight. Did he just take the ending from The Dark Knight?
Yes, I know, right?
It could be.
Oh, the bat's nest. It all,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Image making. I think that's the most interesting part of all of the relational conflicts and the political commentary is this idea of image making. But it feels like the characters, like you were saying, Laura, pivot their desires so quickly that I'm like, man, we were invested in
Yeah.
this. We were saying this the
Yeah.
whole time. And now all of a sudden, some fancy schmancy man is in front of me, and you're like, okay, bye. Let me, like, I was fighting for the greater good. That's beautiful. But
Hmm.
now I'm just going to run away and live a happy life in like a quiet cottage somewhere in the mountains. I'm like, how we got there is really interesting. So I would love to see, Stephen, to your point, that movie, but a lot of that's missing. So it just feels like they're making big choices and swings in their desires, which I think as an audience member is not what we want to see, because we want to build
Hmm.
trust for characters that are moving in a direction, and if they change course, we understand and we are actually more interested because they've changed course. That is a
Hmm.
deepening the desire for the new course. This one feels a little random. It's like your friend that's like, today they want this, tomorrow they want something else, and you're like, I don't know what to do anymore with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like Jen, and to your point, like she, the whole song, No Good Deed, the whole song, No Good Deed, it's so dramatic. It is maybe the best song in this movie musical slash in the OG musical. And when she's like, No good deed will I do again, you're like, cool. All right. So gloves are off. You're about to take the wizard to the mat and anyone who stands in your way. And then she doesn't. I'm like, wait, what? What? Why? What what happened? And to be honest, I haven't seen the musical in so long. I literally can't remember. Does she take a lot of swings during the musical after that happens? Does she actually do a lot of things that people consider evil, like actively evil after that happens? Or does she just stop caring about her cause? Is that the no good deed, that she doesn't care about her cause anymore? She's like, you know what? I'm not going to fight the wizard anymore. I'm done. I'm not going to do any more good deeds. I'm just going to have love and disappear into the desert. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I wanted that to be more clear because that is a pivot, but it didn't feel like her deflation. I didn't feel why she went that direction after that song.
Something that I felt watching the Broadway musical that I think is really interesting, and I wish the film was interested in uncovering that a little bit more. It reminds me a little bit of what Denis Villeneuve does with the Dune story, that I wish John Chu did with the Wicked story, is like kind of pull out these threads that are built into the character, but complicated, or explore the nuances of that a little bit more. So he does that with like the idea of like a savior character, and Timothy Chalamet's like desire and hunger for greatness and for reputation. And I think the turmoil that Glinda feels throughout this second half of the movie is really fascinating from a character study perspective. Um, I just we didn't get as many scenes with Glinda to do the inner turmoil stuff, but to your point, Laura, she's the one that has to like pick up this mantle and bear the weight of the crown, essentially, to be this figure for the people and live a life that is constantly having to answer to the powers that be. Like, she ultimately is the one I think has the most tragic ending, because she has to bear the burden of a pretty heavy responsibility and to put the smile on. And we've seen her. That's like such an interesting character arc from like the we start with her. That I wish we got more of that, because I think it's so fascinating. But we don't get to. We get a little bit with her little sequence with Fiero when they're announcing the engagement. But then after that, Galinda's just kind of there. So I would have loved more of that with that character. I am Team Glinda. I'm going to say that, put it on the internet, and come for me, everybody who is not. But I think she actually bears a huge burden by the end of the film, and gets power, but at kind of like a cost greater than she expected by the end. Yeah.
Mhm.
I actually think that there is an incredible third movie in this trilogy, which is Galinda of Oz as the authoritarian leader of Oz. Like, that Emerald City is turning pink, am I right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And how
no.
good is she, like, deep into absolute power? She did just imprison Madame Morrible. She wasn't like, we're changing up the dungeon so things can live there now. She's like, I don't know if
Hmm.
you can survive the dungeon. Peace. So what kind of
Yo.
leader is she going to be? She
Yeah.
now has been given the gift of reading the Grimoire. So she has not just absolute political power, but absolute metaphysical power.
Mm.
And that's a really interesting film, I think, if you just have Galinda the Good or else. I see so
Yo.
And
much of
she's
Hunger Games in this movie and
yeah.
in a
Oh.
potential future film. And I wonder if if Wicked for Good had been directed by Francis Lawrence, if we wouldn't have gotten everything you guys want. Because that man loves a dark autocracy.
Yeah. Laura and I
Please
talked
write
a
this,
lot.
Laura. We need
Maybe I
that
Yeah,
will.
this would
movie.
be lovely.
Yeah.
Francis Lawrence, please, please, we would love this. And yeah, Laura, if you write this, I think this is an excellent idea. Laura and I went back
Wow.
and forth
Yeah.
on this a lot, and I totally agree that with everything Glinda has dealt with her mean girl, very draconian, her shiz, cloak comes back out, like her shiz demeanor comes back out at the end. And she was a very formidable mean girl back in college. She kind of,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff was going on. She felt completely out of control. But by the time she is back in charge, she is formidable. I could see her being a authoritarian, focusing on enforcing everyone doing the right thing. If you are not doing right behavior, you go to the dungeon with Madame Morrible. If you are doing anything we perceive as bad or wrong, even if it's maybe a religious difference, crusades, I don't know.
Mm.
Like I could see her like enforcing goodness in a very authoritarian way. So maybe she does get everything she wants, but it does come at great cost. The cost of her, I don't know, her humanity, because she did lose a lot in this. And I think, Jen, you're right. She does experience great loss. And that loss could probably scar her
Cool.
and set her on a path where she is just enforcing the right behavior as like a polar opposite of Oz, or as a polar opposite of the Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
I love this so much. We already have the flashback sequence with baby Galinda, being like, ah, yes, the rainbow. Yeah, that was me. Like that insatiable root for power and influence traces
Mhm.
all the way back to the 7-year-old birthday party. So that origin story is there. That was very
And a
good.
Yeah.
natural liar, a
Yeah,
very
that's a
talented
villain
and
origin
natural
story, by
liar.
the way. Like, no one at age 7 should want power that badly when they already have so much social power.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. And there's all this stuff you could do with like propaganda that she's clearly already trained in, studied under Madame Morrible, and can now execute fully. So yeah, let's
Mhm.
turn this Emerald City pink, as Laura says.
Yeah, it's a rose quartz city
Right?
now.
Yes.
Imagine all of the banners that had Elphaba's face now have Glinda's face. They're pink, but it's her just shining, beautiful, wonderful. And Jen, to be fair, I'm also team Glinda slash Galinda. I do see that there is the opportunity for a third movie here where she explores that situation, that power, and what happens. I don't know. We'll see. But
Hmm.
sadly, I don't know if we'll ever
Hmm.
get that.
No, but that would be really cool. And Laura, I think you need to write this, and we need this to happen.
Yeah, I really feel like The Wizard of Oz is in the public domain. Like, Animal Farm just entered it, so Wizard of Oz has to have.
You know?
Yeah, all right. We have a new collaboration.
We
It's going to
do.
be writing this and then getting it filmed. And we're going to get Francis Lawrence somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
I
And
love it.
Totally doable. Yeah, no big deal. We got
I
this.
believe in us.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I love how like Ariana Grande and her PR and her messaging has been like getting to play Glinda was such a healing thing for me. And I think now we need to be like, okay, but do you want to have some fun now too? Because
Mhm.
we got a fun role for you. This is not going to be like a transformative self healing journey. This is like, let's unlock some toxic sides of you, shall we? And
Yeah.
write that into that character.
Let's open the basement, right?
Yeah.
Of your psyche.
By the way,
Let's
fun
let's
fact.
churn some Nickelodeon memories out.
Yo.
By the way, fun fact. Apparently,
Uh-huh.
Gregory Maguire, the author of Wicked, is set to release a new Wicked universe prequel, Galinda: A Charmed Childhood. That's coming out September 29th, according to the internet.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
What is it? What do they call it? A charmed childhood?
Yeah, Galinda, A Charmed Childhood. So it looks like it's going to explore Galinda's childhood and maybe what happens next. So yeah, there's just been a lot of positive. There's been a lot of hype
Mm.
around Wicked. So it looked like he also released a Wicked Childhood as well in 2025. I just found out about this right now. So this is like coming to us from the
Hot off the
internet.
press.
Yeah.
I see. A charmed childhood is not quite the branding we would like for our very dark and cynical autocratic
Yeah,
Galinda
it's a
story.
Yeah.
little it's a little
It's quite
opposite.
nice. It's quite
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
But speaking of new stuff, how
Yeah.
did you guys feel about the new songs that hit? It's Girl in the Bubble and No Place Like Home. Did they speak to you, Stephen? Sarah?
Stephen, yeah. Yeah. I
I
gave
mean,
myself
I
away a
I
little
could
bit.
say I felt like so Girl in the Bubble was actually my new favorite song from this movie musical. It Glinda didn't have as much of her own personal development, in my opinion, in the original musical. She did have some, but in For Good and somewhat in Popular, but Popular is her just basically saying, Alphabet, I'm gonna make you like me. I'm gonna be nice to you, but I'm gonna do you a favor. It's just it's not character development. It's her doing what she does and making a friend. But Girl in the Bubble was an incredibly vulnerable song, and it wasn't quite the level of the OG musical numbers, of course, because we have incredibly talented musical songwriters that I don't know that they were involved with the creation of the song. If they were, I apologize if you're out there listening to us, but it was still very, very good. It was a vulnerability that I hadn't seen from Galinda. Just her talking about reflecting on her past, reflecting on who she was, feeling trapped by the situation, and having that with the backdrop of the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion are going to fight her friend, and she's just sitting there doing nothing. It's such a sad song. It's such a sad song, and I feel like it really captures her, you know, her turning a blind eye to things, which she's been doing a lot in her life. One thing that I remember reading in the book that just really stuck with me is that Glinda is a deep thinker, but she gets overwhelmed easily by big things. And this was a huge thing. So, her friend disappearing, going to the mountains and fighting the Wizard of Oz, all of these things, like her fiance basically betraying her, everything's falling apart behind her, and she just has to keep up this facade, and she doesn't know what to do with that. She's not very good at dealing with these big things that are overwhelming, but she wants to do the right thing. She just has a hard time doing it. So I think that was a very good moment, and I think it was an interesting time to see her turn and actually decide, even if I don't know what to do, even if I don't think I have the right answer, I have to do something. So I'm going to run to Alphaba, and I'm going to fix this as best I can. So I think it was an impactful song, and I think it was a good addition to the movie musical. Yeah. What about
What
you,
about you,
Fez? What did you
Sarah?
think?
Yeah, I didn't care for the new songs. Again, I am a crotchety old person who likes the things that I like, and I am set and stuck in my ways.
You're a
And
purist.
I'm sorry. It is what it is. I think for me, like, I'm not Team Glinda. I'm like, no, I don't care about you. Like, so I didn't need that new song for her. I wanted so much more of Elphaba than Galinda because I care about Elphaba. I'm
Mm.
invested in Elphaba. I'm not invested in Galinda. So I didn't need an extra Galinda song. The new Elphaba song, it's fine. There is a line though in that she I don't know if she I don't remember if she says it or if she sings it, but she asks, "Why do I love this place that's never loved me?" And I think especially as a black woman playing Elphaba, I think that makes that even more powerful of black resistance, especially in the US, and the way that black people have fought to
Mhm.
make this country better and more equitable. And so there's just so many parallels, I think, in these little things, especially with Alphabet, that parallels our world today. So I think that was meaningful for me, but it was more because of Cynthia Erivo than I think anything in the song or these new pieces. So they were fine, but they really didn't do anything for me. I wish that the extra run time would have been used to develop these characters a little bit more, kind of like what we had been talking about, rather than a flashy new, set piece that I don't know. It felt like a shoe-in for me
Mhm.
rather than a like something that is like deeply integrated into the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's Sarah, that's totally fair because again, I'm not saying that these were the best new songs I've ever heard. I think they were a good addition, but what one thing I think was challenging with this is that they decided to make a second movie. They decided to expand it, but the musical that they pulled from, it's a bit of a family-friendly story, right? About friendship, acceptance, and the movie stays faithful to that. So they're trying, they're adding cinematic scope, they're expanding character development to some extent, but a lot of the meaty stuff that they could have pulled in, they were kind of locked out from as far as the
Mm.
scope of this movie experience, right? Because Wicked the musical is very family friendly. If you start pulling in the fact that, spoiler alert for the book, Dr. Dillamon dies, like gets killed a third of the way through it, like it's a much darker story. I mean, like it has murder, it has intrigue, it has a lot of things that could have been pulled into this, but in it seems like maybe they wanted to. I don't know if they did. I don't know what their intent was, but there's a lot of content that I think they were locked out of because of the family friendly brand that was expected around Wicked. And that's if they could have given this a slightly, I don't know, what was it, PG rating? Was it PG 13? I don't know. If they could give it a
Mm.
slightly higher rating and make it a clearly a darker movie, like they did with some of the later Harry Potter movies, I think we could have gotten a lot of meat that I think would have made this movie just sing. Yeah.
Yeah, the Elphaba's new song isn't that it is no Defying Gravity. But I was very struck by that scene in which it takes place with the refugee animals trying to break out through the yellow brick road, and particularly Dulciber's line read when she's exiting, when they hear the wizard's forces coming, and she's like, "I know you won't stop fighting because I know you," and it's an accusatory line read. I was like, Dulciber, I thought we were cool. I'm very confused. And then the cowardly
Dang,
lion is
Dulcimer.
there, and he's like, "You saved me, but I hate you for it." And I'm like, if I were Elphaba, I would also have a great deal of difficulty navigating this experience because I am trying so hard to help, and I am being fought by the
Right.
very people I am trying to help.
Right. She helped the lion when he was a cub and he
Yeah.
comes for her. Okay, so Sarah, I apologize. This is one thing that always bothered me about, well, actually, it's just about the Wicked story and the Wicked musical in general is the cowardly lion bit. Like she helped him. She saved him from slavery, from captivity. And that's his excuse for why he wants to hunt her, that he didn't fight it, that he didn't learn to fight his own battles as a child. Like, no, you saved him from being trafficked and sold into slavery. Like that's the one part where I'm like, okay, I think that could have used a little bit initial like character development at the very beginning. And yeah, like
Oh yeah.
the cowardly lion coming for her in that scene. It's like, dude, she literally helped you. Like, why are you coming for her? Why are you blaming her for not learning how to live? I don't know.
While you are objectively right, the fever dream mashup that is Dorothy's crew at the end of this film
Oh yeah.
amazing. Like bringing the cowardly lion who has, as you have mentioned, an insane backstory. Like
Yeah.
that's a way to blame people. Having Bach show up and then
Mhm.
having Fiero in his new form show up, he is still like so CIA deep, like just doing psyops after psyop. Anyway, so those are the people who are surrounding Dorothy, this random human who has been like X storm from X-Men into the Oz world again by Madame Morrible, which by the way, did Madame Morrible make the original Wizard of Oz come in? Because she has insane storm powers and she really gives a behind the throne power vibe. Like, has she been puppeting this whole I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of power and I would love to talk about it. The fact that Dorothy enters this world and is surrounded by a bunch of Elphaba cronies is insane. And I love that they go to the wizard, and I love that the wizard is like, "You don't look at all like Fiero. Um, go get the witch's broom." It's it's so madcap that I love it. It adds a level of camp that I feel the film missed from the last film, which was pure camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
like
is pretty
finally have a little bit
madcap.
of fun. I feel
Yeah.
like for most of this movie, I don't know what it is, and maybe this is just my read on it, but it felt like we were checking boxes the whole way
Mhm.
through. Like every character, every scene, we're like, all right, we got to do this scene now. And like there's a little bit of a disconnect, and that was a moment where it's like, some life here again, which is so
Yeah.
different from the first movie, which all of the characters felt like they were having an amazing time bringing this to life. And I don't know,
Mhm.
it could just be me, but yeah, I think Laura, you mentioned a little bit earlier, like the vibes be a little funky, and I just I wonder what pressures and what like from deadlines, deliverables, output, like a more rigid vision that the crew, the creative team is being like aligned to instead of creating. So who knows, but yeah, I felt that as
Yeah.
well.
If there is ever a behind the scenes, like not an official behind the scenes, but a behind the scenes documentary of Wicked, I am watching it immediately as it drops because I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I have watched these people over the last 2 years slightly physically degrade. And I'm like, what are people doing to what did they do to you?
Yes.
What is being done to what is being done to John M. Chu? And by
Yeah.
extension, the rest of you.
I
Yeah.
mean, we
Yeah.
know it was an incredibly demanding schedule. We know that Bowen Yang was doing this at the same time as he was doing SNL. And so he was just
Crazy.
working every single day basically for a year. Poor guy. Fortunately,
Yeah.
he doesn't have too
Yeah.
much. He has like two lines in this one, so he had a chance to get a break. But oh my gosh, like it seemed like it was it was the level of investment you have for a musical, but for a year. I think they were just so tired by the end of it.
Mhm.
They put heart and soul into this, and it really shows in Wicked Part 1. And by the time we get to Wicked for Good, they're like, we are so tired, but we have to finish this. Let's get this finished, you
Yes.
guys.
That's
You
exactly
know?
what it is.
That's
Yeah.
really what it feels like when you're watching
Yeah.
it. It's just it really does feel like night and day watching the first one
Mm.
and the second one. And I think exhaustion is probably a factor in all of that.
Mhm.
Laura, you mentioned
Mhm.
that Fiero sometimes has crazy eyes, and I wonder if that's just he's just so tired.
No, right? Jonathan Bailey's crazy eyes, the poor man.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
starts at the very end of the last that starts at the very end of part 1 and then is the entirety of Wicked for Good and you're just like, is this an acting choice or do you need help? I can't help you. I'm the audience.
What did you say earlier,
Yeah.
Laura, around like, is this just the character or is it the human playing the character that is unraveling
Mm.
somehow before our very
Oh
eyes?
yeah, yeah. I
It
feel
works. They
nervous
channel it,
breakdown
but
energy.
breakdown energy. Yeah.
Everyone's crashing
Oh.
out, but they're
Mhm.
professionals, so they're keeping it together.
And they do. Yeah.
And
We
they
get
do.
a thing. We get a movie. We get the
Yeah.
Mhm.
performance.
Mhm.
I learned a very valuable
um,
lesson about burnout actually while watching Wicked for Good. And I think it did inspire me to create a New Year's resolution that was sleeping more.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
Like
good.
everybody looked a little gray. I don't know if that was the color, the color
Right.
choicing or the
No,
choice
I
of the
think in
color.
interviews too, you can kind of
Yeah.
see it
Mhm.
as well.
By the way, I
Okay,
love
any
the
other last
interviews.
thoughts about Wicked for
Yeah.
Good?
Let's
Things that
wrap
we
this.
wanted to shout out, things that worked, things that left us wanting more, that we want to make sure to mention about Wicked for Good.
I would absolutely invest 2.5 hours in a sort of Rosencrantz and Guildensterns for Madame Morrible. I want to know everything she's doing.
This is one of my things that I was feeling frustrated by the whole movie, which is Michelle Yeoh is like one of the greatest actresses of our time. And she is just being so underutilized in this movie that I'm like, someone give this woman more to do. Like she's in a scene for a couple seconds, she's like smarmy, and then she's gone. And I'm like, God, this is one of the greatest talents we have. And she's just like done up in her costume, delivers a few lines, and she's out of there. She's probably, I mean, she's collecting bank. I'm sure it's great, but it would be fascinating to see her really lean into the manipulation. I think she just doesn't have enough to do in this movie with the script. So I think that would have been cool to see more Michelle Yeoh
Yeah.
being awesome. And this is such a
Mhm.
fun character. It's a juicy character too. Yeah.
Madame Morrible does do a lot more in the book, honestly. She is
Okay.
actually the one who kills Dr. Dillamon. Spoiler, but she's the one who does it. And then later on, Elphaba comes for her and then murders her. So there's this whole arc that happens. So she has and she's constantly manipulating the kids. She tries to get them to convert to like to secretly get them to be agents to work for the wizard. Like she's doing all kinds of weird
Wow.
magic stuff behind the scenes, like causing people who like were aware of Dr. Dillamon to go kind of mad and eventually die. Like she is doing some deep state
What?
nonsense in Wicked the book. And it's fun because she's described as kind of fish-like. So she's shimmery, but also very like kind of slippery. And I think that's a great description for her. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would have loved to see again more of the political intrigue of Madame Morrible just deep stating it up, of her being all espionage and just causing a lot of ruckus behind the scenes. It was really nice to see her being the one to summon the cyclone that then takes out Nessa
Yeah.
Rose. You're like, oh my gosh, this woman is maybe the most powerful person in Oz. Look at what she just did. I'm
Hmm.
kind of surprised that she stood down at the end of it. You know, like I feel
Hmm.
like she could have taken out everyone in that with the cyclone if she really, had her druthers about her. I don't know. Like I think she could have taken over for the wizard if she was actually utilizing her power the way she clearly can.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you are dissatisfied with the ending of this movie, read the book because even
Mhm.
the ending of
Mm.
the book is really, I don't know, at least for me, really satisfying kind of
Yeah.
where it ends and certain people get their comeuppance and it is a
Mm.
satisfying ending to a book where I
Mhm.
feel like the ending for the musical and the movie is a little less satisfying. It's a little more murky. The book is very violent, as Stephen has explained. If
That's so
just
fun.
a little thimbleful of the things that are in the book
Yeah.
because it
Wow.
is quite a bonkers book, but it's a really good read and a satisfying ending. So go read that book.
Oh yeah. Sarah, I
Nice.
totally agree. I think the one thing I want to leave your listeners with today is if you saw this movie or the original movie or the musical and you want more, you want to learn more about this world, about these characters, go read Wicked the book. It's exceptionally good. There's a reason why it was turned into both a musical,
Mm.
an award-winning musical, and two movies. Like it is incredibly good. And I think you'll be very
Mm.
satisfied with it.
I love that this is how we're wrapping this episode. The commissioning of like, hey, if this didn't work for you, we have alternatives ready. We will
This is a
redirect your
book podcast
desires.
now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
We're gonna come back and be like, oh, okay, so this is what we wanted. Got
Yeah.
it. Love it. Love it. Well, it's fascinating. I think we covered so many different dimensions. There's like the story arc. There's some of the like just I think behind the scenes stuff. Laura, I'm really glad that you mentioned some of the components of like the process of making the movie well and honoring the team and the people in it. I think that's like an important dimension that I think we don't usually talk about with like how films get made. So I love that aspect of it. And yeah, both Sarah and Stephen bringing in like the things that the text material is actually pulling from that are quite deep and meaningful and cynical, it sounds like, and violent. So instead, we got like cotton candy with on top of ice cream and a good overall good decent enough time at the movies and lots of money being made. No love from the Academy for Wicked for Good, which I think is also quite notable too. So Academy has spoken and it is not celebrating this one, whereas the first one got some of the crafts categories too. So I think that's quite notable from what the industry is also observing and choosing to give its flowers to. All right. Well, thank you so much, Laura and Stephen, for joining us, sharing all of your thoughts, perspectives, takes. We love it every time. Ideas for more Wicked spin-off content. Laura, please write the thing. We need it. Where can people find more of you? Follow Midday Movies, all that goodness.
Okay, so first of all, Jen, Sarah, thank you so much for having us. This has been delightful, per usual. Y'all are so fun to shoot with and so fun to talk through movies with. And you can find Laura and I, more of us, at Midday Movies Pod on Instagram. You can find us on Spotify at Midday Movies. And we have more insights about movies. We've been doing a film school series recently, and we love to do this kind of deep dive stuff where we pull apart a movie and get really into it. So again, thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you and always a pleasure to chat. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, we're so grateful for your time. It's been so great. And there's lots of good stuff this year. So I'm sure we'll collab more and stay connected and all that goodness. So yeah, we'll include in the show notes places where you can find Laura and Steven, Midday Movies. Go follow them. They post quite frequently too, which I think is really fun because you can like really stay connected with them throughout the week with more content, more episodes that are dropping for things that they're covering. We're quite impressed with it. So we'll include links in the show notes. Awesome. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you next week very soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Movies and Us Pod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.